round ligament. So there are several round ligaments, but the round ligament with respect to the diaphragm and the liver is here. This guy.
Just flat.
Yeah, this is the round ligament here. The diaphragm to the liver, round ligament. Okay. All right. Two more things that are the gastrohepatic ligament and hepatoduodenal ligament. The way you remember that is from the names. Gastrohepatic is stomach and liver, gastrohepatic, and hepatoduodenal is liver and duodenum. Okay. So you go to the place underneath the liver here. It might be difficult for everyone to see, but at least no. Okay, I'll show you in. That's right. So liver to the stomach here is gastrohepatic. Okay, liver to the stomach, gastrohepatic. All right. Liver to the duodenum. This one is hepatoduodenal. And there are two which looks like the same, and I think both of these are part of the same ligament. All right. Hepatoduodenal, gastrohepatic.
Can you show us again?
Yeah, from the other side. So this side. So gastrohepatic is this.
Okay.
All right, and hepatoduodenal are these two. Or this, I think specifically this one. Okay. So hepatoduodenal, gastrohepatic. Okay, and this entire region together is the lesser omentum. All right. Okay. Another thing I have not shown you that is included here. This region of the heart, this is the pulmonary trunk. Yeah. This is the aorta. Okay, aorta, aortic arch, and this part here is the pulmonary trunk. Okay, pulmonary trunk. Here, pulmonary trunk here.
Is it the same one?
All right. One blood vessel that I have not shown you. Another one was the right subclavian artery. Okay, so the aorta. So the aorta makes this aortic arch. The arch continues downwards as the dorsal aorta. The first branching is the brachiocephalic artery. I showed that to you. And if you look underneath this anterior vena cava here, the brachiocephalic artery makes three branches. Okay, the rightmost one, it goes deep. This is the right subclavian artery. Okay, so that is right. That is exactly underneath the vena cava. Here, it's a right subclavian artery. If you lift this up, you'll be able to see it clearly. Right subclavian. And then the next two are the common carotid arteries, right and left. Okay, and the next branching of the aorta after brachiocephalic is the left subclavian. All right. So the left subclavian arises from the aortic arch, but the right subclavian arises from the brachiocephalic artery. All right. Okay. So let's go structure by structure from here. Esophagus, you can identify esophagus here. Behind it will be positioned right next to or right underneath the trachea. This is the trachea, this is the esophagus. Here, esophagus. All right. The esophagus ends in the stomach, and if we put a pin in the region where the esophagus meets the stomach, that's the cardiac stomach, named after the cardiac sphincter, or the other way around. It's called the cardiac stomach. So just don't write stomach. Try to be specific. You don't lose points for being specific. So if there's a pin there, write cardiac stomach.
Will it say name the region, or will it
Yeah,
say
will.
name the...
Name the region, or even if it says name the structure, it means the same. Instead of saying stomach, write cardiac stomach.
Will it be like last week where we choose stomach and we write in cardiac, or cardiac and make be a
I mean, if you have two words down there, I'll give you points for that. Cardiac stomach or stomach cardiac, anything is fine. Okay. All right. The rest of the body of the stomach is called fundus, and when the stomach enters or the contents of the stomach pass on into the small intestine, that is the pyloric stomach. Okay. And we have another sphincter, the pyloric sphincter. So cardiac sphincter, fundus, and pyloric stomach, pyloric sphincter. Okay, so that was the stomach. Lobes of the liver, you have to know all the names. Right right medial lobe, right lateral lobe. Underneath that is one of the caudate lobes. There is another small caudate lobe on the other side here. Okay, this is the left lateral, left medial, and the center one is the quadrate, and the gallbladder is positioned inside the quadrate lobe. Okay, so caudate is hidden underneath, then you have the lateral and medial. The quadrate is in the middle, and the right lateral is hidden underneath the right medial. Okay, all right. Pancreas, I did not show the other group. Pancreas is this one good for pancreas? So you see this structure? So this is the pancreas. Okay. The part that is near the duodenum is the head of the pancreas, and the other one is the tail of the pancreas. So tail of the pancreas, head of the pancreas.
We need to put that.
Hmm?
We need to put the head into.
Yeah. So if we have a pin here, that would be head of the pancreas. If you put a pin here, that would be tail of the pancreas.
There's gonna be a word bank still, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, you will have a word bag. Okay. All right. Pancreas is done. Let me show the pancreas. What is the next one? Omentum. So this fatty tissue, this is all greater omentum, and the lesser omentum is in the ligament region. Okay, or that entire structure where the liver and the stomach and the duodenum is connected, those ligaments there together form the lesser omentum. But this is more important, greater omentum. Okay. All right. Next, mesentery is the tissues that supply blood to the intestines. So here, this is the mesentery. So all this white fibrous structure are the mesenteries. Okay. Okay, next, small intestine. Now I have a correction to make here. So, you need to know three regions of the small intestine: ileum, jejunum, and duodenum. So duodenum is the part that is the first part of the small intestine. Okay, when the stomach enters into the contents of the stomach enters into the small intestine, that is the duodenum next to the pancreas. The last part is the part that goes into the large intestine or the ascending colon. That is the ileum. I told you jejunum, that is the ileum. Okay, so the ileum goes into the large intestine. Okay.
How would that be asked on the test? Like, are you gonna say what area of the small intestines is this?
Yeah. I mean, if we have a pin here, okay, that is the duodenum.
So if there's a structure that has different regions, we just automatically assume that we have to name that region and not the whole thing.
Yeah, if that is the case, it is most likely the jejunum.
So you won't be asking us at
No,
one station like the small intestine. You'll always be asking the region.
Of that.
So
If we want to
yeah,
say
so
small intestine.
it will be small intestine if it is not ileum and if it is not duodenum. If it is not ileum, if it is not duodenum, then it can be the small intestine or the jejunum. Okay, I'll show you where the jejunum is, but it is I have like no words to specifically describe where the jejunum is. Okay, I'll tell you why. So in the small intestine, it starts at the stomach region. This is the duodenum next to the pancreas, duodenum here. Okay, and the last part of the small intestine that goes into the ascending colon next to the cecum. This is the cecum. next to the cecum. This part is the ileum. Ileum here. So ileum is the last part of the small intestine, after which you have this large intestine.
Can you show the cecum again?
This is the cecum. Cecum is the dead end after the or before the ascending colon begins. Okay. All right. So now, if you separate out the mesenteries like this, I'm showing you how it is shown in the picture. So you have the mesenteric lymph node here. Okay. This is the mesenteric lymph node, and according to the picture, the cylindrical part exactly across the mesenteric lymph node is the jejunum. All right. So if it is not like a coiled structure, that would be the jejunum.
Okay.
If it is here, that's the duodenum. If it is next to the ascending colon, that's the ileum. Anywhere else, it is either the small intestine or the jejunum. If the labeling is not good, I'll give you points for both. But if it is like, if you can see the mesentery is opened up like this, and if you have the mesenteric lymph node, then that's the jejunum here. Okay. All right. So small intestine is done. So next is the large intestine. The large intestine begins with the ascending colon, or here ascending colon, which begins at this blind end, cecum. Cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, right? And it goes down as the descending colon. Okay, descending colon. After the descending colon, in case of female cats, posterior to the uterus is the rectum here. Okay, rectum, and the anus is right at the end of the rectum here, underneath this. So anus, rectum, descending colon, transverse colon, ascending colon, and cecum. Okay. All right. Next is what? Spleen. Spleen will only be on one side. Okay. So if you have a structure that looks like dried blood, okay, surrounded by omentum below the big lobe of the liver, on the right side, left side of the cat, that's the spleen. Okay, spleen. Okay, lungs. So lungs, there are 7 lobes of the lungs. You may not have seen the 7th one, which is the accessory lobe, that is below the heart. Okay, the 6 easy ones are this. The topmost one are anterior lobes, anterior left, right, medial left, medial right, posterior left, posterior right. Okay, so starting from the top, anterior, then medial, then posterior, and in the middle, below the heart, there is a small lobe hidden here. That is the accessory lobe. Okay. All right. Okay, now you will find tube-like structures going into the lungs. The biggest one will be the primary bronchus. So the trachea branches into primary bronchi. So that is, if we put a pin here, these 2 regions, that will be the primary bronchus here. Okay, and so the primary bronchus continues here and makes another branching. This branch is the secondary bronchus. Okay, if you have to find this in your cat, you have to like eat away in the tissues, or like use this kind of rope to take away some lung tissues. Then you will find secondary bronchus here, and there's a small one here. We don't want to see the tertiary one, it is too deep. Okay, so primary bronchus, secondary bronchus, small ones. Can I even point it? You see this one, this guy, and this guy here. That's secondary bronchus. Okay. All right. Layers of the heart. This is the parietal pericardium. Okay. Visceral is here attached to it. You don't have to worry about visceral. This is the parietal pericardium. The gap between parietal and visceral is called the parietal.